We are saints in progress. God will meet us wherever we are in life. There's no need to get all cleaned up. God has seen us at our worst and still believes that living saints are among us. Saints in progress, even when we can't see it. Be still, my heart. Given my son Aaron's lack of conformity, when he died at the age of 34, it was difficult. Not only because it's never easy to lose someone you love, but because a lot of those early church teachings came creeping back in. They were creeping in and they were creepy. Grieving someone who doesn't quite fit in the box is challenging. And even though in my head and in my heart I fully embraced the theology of original blessings, those either or beliefs were resurfacing. You know, the ones. The ones about either or, either you go to heaven or you go to hell, either you're a sinner or a saint, either you're in or you're out. Complicating these resurfacings were the number of people, including the good and saintly church people, who couldn't or wouldn't understand why we, being Rob and I, were grieving the way we were grieving and doing what we were doing. For example, the funeral director and the pastor. Neither of them could understand why we'd want to celebrate Aaron's life outdoors, in our front yard at home, instead of the more socially acceptable church or funeral home. And then there was the woman who used to be my therapist, a woman who was very clear in telling me I wasn't grieving properly. That's why she's my used to be therapist. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We were a grieving curiosity. And you know what made all this bearable? You know who made it possible to move through all of this confliction and confusion with strength and dignity? A group of hammer swinging, cigarette smoking, constantly cursing saints that we met at Circle K. This is how it happened. When Aaron's life on earth ended, it was because he was hit by a moving vehicle while he was riding his bicycle. Typical of his lifestyle, he had no ID, no driver's license, no little who to call in case of emergency card in his wallet because he didn't have a wallet and he didn't have a cell phone. What he did have was the wonder of a little scrap of paper with a phone number on it. And the number just happened to be the number of his boss. If it hadn't been for the wonder of that little scrap of paper, most likely Aaron would have been a John Doe. God works wonders and continues to work wonders. And God will work wonders for you too. The next wonder was the wonder of Facebook. By using Facebook, Aaron's boss managed to get in contact with Rob and I to share the sad news. We had a heart full of hurt and we had a lot of questions and we really didn't know what to do. So we got in the car and we headed to Valdosta. Aaron's boss agreed to meet us at Circle K. And when we showed up, wonder of all wonders, he had brought the entire saintly construction crew. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with construction. This was a framing crew, which is typically made up of 5 or 6 people. Frequently, it's a crew of day laborers. Most of the time, if you are the supervisor of construction, these are people who need a ride to work. Sometimes you have to stop and get them out of bed. A lot of time they come to work hungry and hungover. The crew that Aaron was part of was no exception to this. All right, Leo, you're going to have to get down or something. One, and probably the sweetest of his co-workers, was a junkie with a huge heart of saintly compassion. Hard times and struggle have a way of creating compassion in us. Another of his co-workers made it very clear he was sick with a hangover and would need to frequently excuse himself, but he wanted to be with us, so he was determined to tough it out. Go on, Leo. Another had just had a huge fight with his baby's mama. He showed up visibly shaken, vibrating with tension. We all stood around in the Circle K parking lot, Rob and I, Aaron's boss, and this group of unlikely saints. And we shared stories. Stories about the fun, the tragedies, the frustrations, and the challenges of working with my son. We shared stories about the times we laughed and cried, the times we got mad, and the times we got lost. And we talked about the hurt we felt because Aaron had left this life and moved beyond to the next one. And this group of unexpected saints assured me, with great hope and certainty, that Aaron was living his best life now. Aaron was in heaven. And through these stories and through these saints came healing. After a while, the boss said, I have Aaron's tool belt. And he wanted to know if it would be okay if he and the guys hung Aaron's tool belt up in the trailer. Both Rob and I nodded yes. And so this little group of unlikely saints processed. They hung up that tool belt like they were hanging the most sacred wreath or the most sacred painting. They treated it with great dignity, and it was one of the most sacred moments I have ever experienced. I knew that I was in the presence of saints. And I marveled in the communion of saints. And in the communion of saints, God marvels too. Soak that in. Smile. Chill. Relax.